Hello, and welcome to the SaWGuy podcast.
Like scary movies. What's your favorite scary movie?
Here's Johnny.
We'll tear your soul apart.
The boogeyman is real, and you found him.
Game over, man. Game over.
What do you want?
I want to hear you scream. Drop the prime time, bitch!
Welcome to the SaWGuy podcast. As always, I'm the SaWGuy, and you guys are here for a very, very special episode today. Why is it so special? I know I say it in every episode, but it's because I get to finally announce the winner. The one film that was the most requested and top voted by you guys, the fans, and I'm excited. I really am. But before I get to it, I wanted to get in a little bit of the action, have some fun with it, because I know on my social media pages, I was putting in, a couple of my favorite films and stuff like that, but I didn't give you my top five, So I had to give you guys my top five, and then, of course, I'll bring it in on the main winner towards the end, and what I'm going to do is do a teaser. So this video is going to end with that teaser, and I hope you all like it, because, I've been working pretty hard on on seeing how I want to announce this, Crossed my mind about possibly doing a live feed, but then I was just like, no, you can't have too much fun with live feed, you can't do much effects, and I'm all about the effects, But anyways, when I, towards the end of this video, for sure, you'll see it, But I will throw a bone for you guys, and this is what I'm going to do. I'll give you guys my top five favorite films, then I'm going to give you the top five that were voted. So, obviously, I'll go from like number 5, number 4, number 3, number 2, and then end the video at number 1 with the teaser. And then I'll also throw in some honorable mentions for the top 5 that kind of just like, whoa, okay, this would have been cool. I mean, I say honorable mentions because I assumed that's where everybody was going to go with it, but I mean, it blew my mind with it. It really did. For the longest time, I know I was making teaser videos and letting you guys know that, hey, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is winning. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is winning. But then all of a sudden, just as a matter of about 2 weeks ago, because I've been doing this program, trying to get you guys to let me know your favorite horror films. I've been doing this for 4 weeks, actually 5, because I gave y'all an extra week. But what I planned to do was to see what was going to be the favorite. And it was leaning towards Texas Chainsaw. But obviously it didn't, and that's wow, But I'll get to that more in a moment. But let me start off with my top 5 favorite films. And this was difficult for me to make my own list. But if I had to make a list, this is the list that I'm going to go to. And I'm going to do it in from number 5 on down to number 1. Right? Since y'all let me know. And originally I had asked you guys to do, 1 or 2 films. But then I was just like, fuck it, let's just put all your favorites in there. Let's throw it all in the bowl. A lot of talent, let me tell you that, But anyways, let's get started on this, right? So anyways, my top 5. Number 5, I've already put this all over on social media. My number 5 favorite film is the original Fright Night. If you've never seen Fright Night, I suggest you see that one. I know I say that for every film, but no, see this one, because I'm not a guy that likes vampire movies very much, but Fright Night just takes the cake. It really does. I remember seeing this film when I was a kid, and it was back in the VHS days. When you had Showtime and HBO, what we used to do as a family, we would record all these videos on, your normal 6-hour VHS. And we had like 3 or 4 videos on there, or 3 or 4 movies on one tape, and we would always watch it on repeat. that was the good days, But anyways, Fright Night, what it is, it follows a story of a vampire moving next door to a kid. He has his suspicions and all that, and then it ends up being like a kooky, crazy 80s stories. But what I loved about it is that you had great acting. Roddy McDowall. Who else did you have? You had Chris Sarandon. The guy who played Charlie Brewster, I can't remember his name. But I know he was a great actor in it too. Then you had his girlfriend, who was one of the main characters off of, I was thinking Love and Marriage. I was thinking the TV show with Al Bundy, Married with Children. That's what it was, She's one of the main characters in Fright Night because she plays as, like the girlfriend and everything. But what I loved about it was the fact that it was an original vampire story. It was so different. I mean, yeah, it's cheesy. You have a vampire moving next door, blah, blah, blah. But it followed all the rules. It really did. You know, everything from where he was drinking holy water, but he unblessed it by putting it next to the fire and just random shit like that. And then just the over-the-top effects was just like, whoa, you know? Obviously, it was on a budget now. If you watch it on Blu-ray, you see all the puppet strings and shit. But, you know, for its time, it was great. So that was my number 5 film. Number 4, I had to put in a Friday the 13th series one. I didn't put down the whole series, because obviously there's some good, there's some bad, and I did this episode already on it. You know, if you haven't checked it out, check it out. I believe it's episode 6 that I did. But for the Friday the 13th series, out of all of them, except Freddy vs. Jason, because that doesn't count, including the remake, I'm going to go with Part 6, Jason Lives. That's my favorite. Why is that one my favorite? Because that was the one that brought back Jason from the grave, essentially, you know? And it's nothing, it was just so fucking badass. I mean, you can't beat that. The fact that, you know, he gets a bar, puts right on him, lightning hits randomly, and it starts thunderstorming, and then he's reanimated and back alive. The first person he kills is Tommy Jarvis's friend, just rips his fucking heart out, you know? And from there on, I mean, it was great. They really tied in the continuity. That's where they actually showed he was wearing gloves. He stole, there was people hiking and playing like a paintball game and shit. He stole their gear, their machete and everything. And it showed that he was not human, but he was more or less like, he was capable of doing things differently, you know? Because that's when a lot of people were saying, oh, is Michael Myers better? Or, oh, is Jason better? Well, Jason wears a jumpsuit like Michael Myers, but Michael Myers, you know, it gets all that whole fanboy shit, you know? So that's what I love about this one. This one was so different. And the way how they ended it, where they buried him back at the lake with the chain on his neck, and he's at the bottom of the lake with the rocks. You know, it's kind of like the old monster things, you know, how they used to do that shit, where they would bury him out at the lake or the sea or whatever. But I thought it was pretty cool. That one was really good for what it was. Out of all of them, Part 6 is my favorite, hands down. So that was my number 4 favorite, right? I'm getting into number 3. And some of you guys are going to think I'm fucking crazy on this, but I'm going to say it straight out. Number 3 was a tie that I had, and I wrote down all my lists and wrote down everything else, but I really had to pinpoint this one because I love extreme gore. I love a lot of all the effects, everything about it, right? Man, it came down to either Cannibal Holocaust or Suburban Film, and I can't put both of those like one higher than the other because they're both extreme. If you've never seen these films, especially if you're an animal-loving person, I believe there's a cruelty-free version for Cannibal Holocaust, if I'm not mistaken. But Cannibal Holocaust was the first of its kind when it came out. It was an Italian horror film, and I think I've explained it in one of my episodes. But it's an Italian horror film. It's POV, so it's from point of view. And this guy, he's basically uncovering all this footage of these people that went on to this indigenous tribe. And this tribe, they were like cannibals. They did like weird shit and everything. And then, you know, shit goes haywire. They all get killed and eaten and everything. And as they're doing that, they show like how they hunt for food and stuff. And there's this really gruesome scene where they pull a sea turtle out and then they actually like do all the stuff. And then they have like the dramatic music. I'm not an animal killer per se, you know. I love it for the effects and what they did. And a lot of people thought that this movie was real. It was just so much controversial with it, right? But for me, when I saw it, I was young, and I thought, oh, this is some badass effects. And then you find out later, those are real fucking animals that they killed, and it's like, whoa, hold on this shit, you know? So, I mean, I don't like it for the fact of what it does to the animals. I like it for the fact of how it was one of those films that set the bar, you know? There's different levels of extreme, of different horror, and that right there, it peaked. For so long it peaked. But then they came out with this foreign film called a Suburban Film. We've all heard about the stories about it, how if you've never heard of it or seen it, I'll explain it real quick. It's basically a porn actor who's retired, and he is living his life. You know, he's living the dream. He has a son, he has a wife. Then his best friend, who's a chick, still in the porn industry, says, hey, if you come back, you know, you're going to get more money out of it. And basically, the whole story goes is that he agrees to do it because he wanted more money to provide for his family. They drug him up, and then shit goes crazy. They push the boundaries on this one a lot. I'm telling you, it's to the point where it mind fucked me, you know. And that takes a lot to do. That really does, you know, especially for extreme horror. I mean, it messes with a lot with your psyche. But anyways, they show different scenes that involved a lot of sexual content, and it's just like it blew my mind away, you know. And it makes you think, you know, especially now because the film came out, I believe, in 2012, 2013. And if you watch it, it looks a legit snuff film. It really does. And that's what blew me away. I had to step back for a minute and think, wow, I mean, holy shit. They made a movie this intense, and they did a good job on it because the effects. It was just like, whoa, you know? I mean, everything from camera angles to the different prosthetics, different things. It was a really fucked up story. I put those two as my number 3 because obviously I love slashers. I love the gore. I love the effects. That's always been intriguing to me. That really has. And also, too, I'm a medical nut, you know? I love anything that has to do with medical, all that stuff. It don't affect me. So I had to put those as my number 3. But anyways, going down the line, I'm going to do number 2 now. Now, number 2, we all know that I'm a big fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, hell, anything that has to do with chainsaws, that's all about me, right? Out of all the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, because I know that shit has been rebooted so many times after the first one, I would have to say the original sequel, Part 2, was one of my favorites. And hear me out on this. I know a lot of people are putting in the comments below, like, what the hell are you thinking about? I love Part 2 because, obviously, I'm an 80s baby. You know, I was obviously born and lived through the 80s and everything, but that's what I love about it. It's so campy. It's campy, but it's not horror comedy, because I fucking hate horror comedies. But it's campy. And you had a lot of good actors in it. You really did. Bill Moseley got started on that one. Caroline Williams was in it. And then you also had Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper, he played as the main cop who was trying to solve the mysteries from the first one. So, a little backstory on it. Dennis Hopper, he was the uncle of Frank, the kid in the wheelchair from the original one, and Sally. And they all didn't survive. That's how the story went. And so Lucky, he's going all over Texas trying to figure out who the fuck are these people. And you had the original cast. You had the original brother. What was it? I'm trying to remember. He was the one who made the chili. He was the old guy in the original one. But he came back for this one. And there's a lot of continuity with it. And basically, after everything that happened on the first film, they left, and then they went to another part of Texas, and they were hiding out. But they were still doing what they were doing, kidnapping people, eating them and everything. But this time he found ways of how to dispose of them by making homemade chili. And you even see it in the scene that at a chili contest, one of the people are eating it, and then they pull out a fucking tooth. And I was just like, what? And he was like, oh, it's a hard shell peppercorn, you know? But I love this one because, for one, it was campy. 2, they had a great soundtrack. Oingo Boingo. It's actually Danny Elfman's band. And they did a song on there, No One Lives Forever. I used that song so many times as teasers when I first was starting out this podcast. That's one of my favorite fucking songs from the 80s. And it was because of that movie. I first heard it that first time. And the first 5 minutes, I love the effects and how they did it. And the whole story build up, how these 2 kids were going to a party. They were fucking with Caroline Williams, who was, you know, stretched. She was a DJ. They were calling her on the the old school phones. You know, they had phones in the cars back in the 80s. Some of you younger generations don't remember that, but they had phones in the car for, like, high-end cars. So he calls up on the phone, fucks with her, hangs up. Later on in the night, he calls up and he starts talking to her. And then when he was first talking to her, he was fucking with this truck. And this truck ended up following him. And then he's driving forward while the truck is driving backwards. And they're going down this bridge. And they're playing that song, No One Lives Forever. And then you see Leatherface comes out, and then he starts dancing. Like, trying to be stupid, you know, make it campy. One of the kids had a gun and shot him. And it was actually a zombie that he had in front of him. So, I don't know what the whole story was, why he had a zombie in front of him. But rumor is, that's supposed to be the hitchhiker from the first film. And that's his dead body, so they just brought it along with them. And then Leatherface just gets pissed off and starts cutting the shit out of the car with the chainsaw. And then the car crashes, and then just the effects. I know it was cheesy where he cuts the guy's head and then it comes out and then blood is squirting out. It's cheesy now, but for what it was like, what the hell? And then the effects they did for Bill Moseley. Oh, man. He was a Vietnam veteran who had a metal plate in his head, and he was just crazy. And he was supposed to be the twin brother of the original Hitchhiker. And they carry on this whole story where they were hiding out at a, a Civil War reenactment camp that was abandoned. And then the ending of the film, they had this fucking huge chainsaw fight where Dennis Hopper had two little chainsaws and Leatherface had his big-ass chainsaw and they were fighting. Puts one chainsaw through Leatherface. It was just... that you can't build a franchise without going out with a bang. And that was the one that really stood out to me. Part 3 was, a lot of talk. Part 4, which was the next generation, the new generation, that was the Matthew McConaughey one. Nobody remembers that one. And then obviously you had the Jessica Biel one, the remake. Those ones were good. But I had to put that one in as my number 2. Because, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, number 2, right? Throw it in there. Alright. So now the granddaddy of them all. What's my favorite film? You all know this shit. I put it all over on social media. It's in my name for this show. Obviously, my number 1 favorite horror films of all time is the Saw series. Now, to be fair, I can't say the whole Saw series because that, destroys the whole purpose of having fun with it, right? So, I'm going to tell you, if I have to break it down out of all the Saw films, 1 through Jigsaw, the recent one that came out, I'm going to tell you, my favorite one was Part 3. Out of all of them, I have a strong stomach for everything, but Part 3 just, it mind-fucked me more, and that's the thing that really got to me. Part 3 was basically, it followed a husband and wife, and they're going through a divorce because their son was hit and killed by a drunk driver. The witness ran off, and the drunk driver got away on the charges because the judge just didn't give a shit about it. And basically, it's a couple years down the road. They have a daughter, and he neglects the daughter because he's so vengeful on getting back at the guy who killed his son. And it plays into that whole psyche. And I'm not a parent or anything, but if I was, that would fuck me up, And it really was just itching in right there into that mental aspect of things. It was great writing from Lee Winnell and James Wan. I believe, who directed Part 3? I think it was Darren Lynn Bousman. He directed, it was him, because he did Part 2, 3, and 4. It wasn't James Wan that directed it, but he wrote it, him and Lee Winnell, they wrote the original 3. But anyways, there's a scene in there that really got to me, was the fact that he either had to save the judge, or let the pigs kept getting gut up, and then their intestines would fill up, and he would drown on him. And the only way he can get him out was if he sacrificed his kids' toys. And that scene just like, ooh, it hit me. I'm not a softie, but it hit me, They show flashbacks of how he has all these memories with the toys and his son who was killed in that accident. Then he had to burn all the toys, and then once you burn all the toys, one of the toys had a key. And it was basically Jigsaw saying, okay, if you want to save this man, you got to let go of the past and move forward. And it really spoke a lot of volumes to me. It really did. So Part 3 was always my favorite out of the top. If I can watch any Saw film on repeat, it would always be with number 3. And I would never get tired of it, But that's my top 5, So hope you all enjoyed my top 5. Now, yeah, I know. You guys are all anxious. I know. This is what everybody wants to know. What fucking film was the most voted, most requested? I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to give you the top 5. Well, I'll give you top 4. Give you the honorable mentions, and then after that, then I'll go ahead and end the video, and then you'll see the teaser. So, have a little fun with that. But before I get started, I'll go real quick. My honorable mentions that I had a difficult choice. I wanted to put on this list, but I didn't. But I had to include I Saw the Devil. That's a foreign film. Great film if you've never seen it. But fucking brutal. I love that film. Wishmaster. I already did an episode on that, so, y'all can reference back onto that and why that one's so special to me. Halloween 3. You notice I like the sequels better than the originals. I don't know why. It's weird. But I love Halloween 3 because it had nothing to do with Michael Myers, but it had a whole different aspect of things. And John Carpenter, he wrote that fucking story just amazing. It's truly underrated for Part 3, what it was. Scream, of course, I lived through the 90s. Everybody had to fucking have Scream on there. From the great Wes Craven, one of my other classics. And then also, too, I did an episode on this on They Live. So, I'm sure you guys all see the pattern scheme that I've been doing, how I pick my episodes and things like that. But anyways, let's get down to it. The top 5 requests. After I've been talking for, what, 20 minutes? Alright, so, starting with number 5. This is the one that I thought was going to win, and it had fucking numerous votes. It's to the point where it was in the hundreds. I mean, it was a lot. It really was. But this one was the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I honestly thought it was going to win. Everybody loves Texas Chainsaw Massacre because it was such a cult classic. And it's a cult classic because it's what I was telling you earlier in this episode, that they mess with a lot of mind power stuff. Out of that whole movie, there's not a drop of blood in there. But it messes with you because it gives you the less is more approach, the Alfred Hitchcock, the John Carpenter idea. And that's what made it so scary and holds up still to this day. Number 4. Number 4 is another cult classic. And this one, I honestly thought it would do a little bit better. But, I mean, you know, I believe it's everybody to each his own. You know, I'm not going to knock on it. But number 4 was the original Halloween by John Carpenter. And I've honestly always wanted to do an episode on the whole Halloween series and the original Halloween. But maybe down the road, once we get closer to the fall, we'll see, you know? I mean, you can't start fall without talking about Halloween, right? But Halloween was number 4. It had a lot of votes. It leapfrogged Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That was actually the first one that leapfrogged Texas Chainsaw Massacre as I was tallying everything up. And it blew me away. Like, whoa, what the hell, you know? And that's when the list all came down into this, you know? Number 3 was another kind of an odd one. Well, not odd one, but it was different. Because it's not, I don't see this film as horror. I see it as more suspense, more as drama. It fits into more of like that Italian style of horror, where it builds up, builds up, builds up, builds up, and then it blows up at the end, and then everything's all good. But number 3 was Silence of the Lambs. Anthony fucking Hopkins. I ate his liver and some fava beans. You know? Everybody remembers that film. Everybody remembers Buffalo Bill doing the dance. We all know that with Q Lazarus, Goodbye Horses. But I thought that was interesting. When I was tallying everything up, Silence of the Lambs, it just like, I raised an eyebrow on that, like, really? I mean, it's just, I don't see that as horror. I know you guys do, or, I mean, well, I shouldn't say it like that. I should say, you know, most people, to each his own, like I said, you know. I see it as more as a drama, thriller, suspense film, but you guys see it as a horror film, so in the interest of fairness, for sure, I had to include this in here. I don't, you know, I don't judge. I don't judge, and I'll keep everything all fair on this, you know. And it was just a shocker, though, you know, because I would have thought everybody would have said Hannibal, because a lot of people like Hannibal more. Then you had Red Dragon, which was the remake of Manhunter, and I thought a lot more people would say those ones instead of Silence of the Lambs, but Silence of the Lambs had that little creepy feel to it, and I get it, you know. So Silence of the Lambs, number 3. And number 2, it's another Stephen King classic, and this was surprising to me, you know, because I got a good amount of votes for it, which I did in the last episode, and I know for this one, I would have thought another Stephen King film, it would have to be Misery or Cujo, hell, even Pet Sematary. I thought Pet Sematary was going to take this spot, but nope. Y'all ready for this one? This shocker? This one was Silver Bullet. That's right. The one with Corey Haim and Gary Busey, and you had the priest who played the werewolf, and he had a duality sense of things. And I was like shocked, like holy shit. That one took the cake out of all the Stephen King films. It got more votes than it, which blew me away, which that's why I figured, okay, well, a lot more people know of it because of the remake that recently came out. So that's why I was thinking, okay, well, I'll bring this one out for you, you know. I'll bring out Pennywise because this one, it didn't even come in the top 10, sadly. But I think a lot of people are just not over it, but you know when you have something or you're around something so often, you're just like, you know, you want something different. That's what I think that this one was. So that was the top 4 right there. And I'll bring it down again. So you had Texas Chainsaw Massacre is 5. Halloween is number 4. Then you have Silence of the Lambs is number 3. Then you had number 2, Stephen King's Silver Bullet, right? Honorable mentions I'm going to put on there before I end this video and give you the winner. Honorable mentions that came, now these are the ones that were in the top 10, right? So, obviously, The Shining. Oh, God. That's a cult classic. One of my favorites. I will announce it, though. I am planning to do something possibly down the road with that one. So, a friend of mine was talking to me about it. And so, if that individual's watching it, just be on the lookout for that one, you know? Another one that came up was Creepshow, which I would have thought that one would have been better than Silver Bullet, like as far as the requests and everyone's favorite. But, you know, Creepshow, I don't know. Creepshow, that one, I like it, but I think it just got watered down after they did the part 2, 3, 4, and then it got away from everything of all the original people that were involved with it, you know? But Creepshow was in there, and I thought that one would have been good. This is another, like, surprising twist for this one for me was Sinister. And I love the first Sinister. The second Sinister was okay, but I got a lot of votes on that one. Like, out of every 5 people that gave me their list of favorite horror films, Sinister was probably like on 3 out of those 5s, which I was like, really? But, I mean, for me, I'm not really, I don't know. I like supernatural films. I like the ghosts and the aspect and the Ouija and everything that all ties into it. And the whole story with Slender Man, which would have been cool, but it's just, I have to be in the mood for it. That's just me, you know? But, I mean, if you all like it, hey, I tip my hats off to you guys. And, you know, keep watching all those horror films, you know? Another one, I was on the fence on this one. But a lot of people put this one in, Evil Dead. And I like Evil Dead, but part 1 and 2, I mean, there's always been that controversy of like, Evil Dead is Evil Dead 2 is a remake of Evil Dead 1. And I believe that's what it is. You know, Evil Dead just became so popular that they just said, fuck it, we'll do another one and do the same exact thing, but release it all over in theaters. And that's what you get with Evil Dead 2. And I think that one got popular because of the whole TV series with Ash versus Evil Dead. And like I said, this one was in a lot of lists. It's similar to the Sinister. So out of every 5, I mean, there was like 3, maybe even 4 people that had it on there when I was writing everything down. Because I did all this by pen and paper. I put down the person's name, every horror film, and went through every single horror film and tallied it up. All pen and paper. You know, I'm old school like that. That's how I do it, you know. That way I keep it fair and interesting, you know. And this is another one that I thought would have gone in there. It was Steven Spielberg's film, and I know some of you are thinking, oh, wait, it's his first one, Duel, right? That one didn't even make, well, actually, no, to be fair, that one did make the list. I had a few people that talked to me about Duel, but this is his other cult classic, Jaws. And what better way to talk about and getting ready for the summer than talking about a killer shark that swims in from the ocean into, like, an embankment, you know, and eating people and stuff like that. It's creepy. Because that shit can actually happen. There is breeds of sharks that can do that. That can go from ocean into lakes and stuff. You know, those are the bull sharks. I'm a bit of a science nerd, that's how I know. But, anyways, with Jaws, I was surprised. I mean, because that was really the first, to me, Jaws is more real horror. You know, because that shit could actually happen. And I would have thought because Jaws being everywhere, and especially around this time, once it's getting closer to summer, it's warming up, you would think more people would have voted for Jaws. But a lot of people really didn't, you know? And that's why I was just like, you know, okay, I'll throw it out there as honorable mention. Jaws, I believe, was number 10 on the list that I counted, you know? Because I went all down the list of everything, and it was interesting. It really was. But, you know, the time has come. I went through the whole list of everything just to show you I don't bullshit. That's right there. Bam. You know, you probably saw what number 1 was, but, you know, it is what it is. If you didn't see it, you know, that's why I did it so quick. You're going to see this teaser right here. But before I get into it, I want to tell you guys all from the bottom of my little heart to say thank you for everybody that participated on this. Thank you for letting me know your favorite horror films. I wouldn't be doing this show without your guys' support. So, like I said, I salute all you guys for that. And I really do appreciate that. Also, too, like I said, I am very, very humble and very, very gracious that everybody all pitched in, little by little. You know, I mean, obviously I gave it a lot of time, 5 weeks. But, I mean, I wanted to make sure that everybody had their pick of the lineup. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's really interesting to see. You know, that there's a lot more people than I expected that liked a lot of different variety of horror films. And, you know, that's what I'm going to take away from this. You know, that's what I learned from. And also, too, I want you guys to know that if it's not your favorite movie, you know, don't be alarmed. You know, this is all good food for thought for me. I know what you guys all like. I know what you all expect. And maybe you'll see some of these movies down the road that I will do for an episode, you know. And, I mean, definitely for sure, I'm going to have to do some of the top 5 most requested. Some of the honorable mentions for sure. But I know it was interesting. It really was. You know, and they're damn good movies that you all picked out. I mean, you all got some damn good taste, you know. But anyways, thank you all for giving me all this food for thought. Very appreciative of everything. And I hope you all enjoy this little teaser that I have for you. And tune in next week, and you'll see that episode 20, this was the #1 most requested horror film by you guys, the fans. So thank you for tuning in, and as always, once I'm done, you know how it goes.